Hey guys, Soul Closet here, back making another video, and today I'm going to be talking about 3 Clicky keyboards which I have owned. The Razer Blackwidow 2014 Tournament Edition, the ViewSonic KU520, and the Leopold Fc 750R. Now, there's a couple of differences between these 3 keyboards, and I'm going to talk about them in the order that I owned them. So let's start with the Razer Blackwidow Tournament 2014. You can see here on the label, which is inexplicably upside down. There's the feet, there's the label. It's weird. You can see here it is indeed the Razer Blackwidow Tournament 2014 edition, or Blackwidow 2014 Tournament edition, I don't know. There seems to be a product number. Oh, that's not a serial number. Okay, it's fine. I don't really care about this keyboard anyway. So that's what that is, and this keyboard features Razer greens, which are bad enough at keeping the keycaps on that I can just pull them off despite having a pretty deep case. You can see the green stem there. It's kind of a neon color. There we are. And when you press it, it's light and clicky. Now, we are on a padded bed here recording this part of the video, so the full sound isn't here, but I'll record that in more depth later. You can also see that when I received it, I had a couple of missing keys, so I got some purple legended arrow keys from WASD keyboards, and a Triforce key to replace the A, also from WASD keyboards, because I thought it was too good of an opportunity to pass up when this color configuration was the cheapest, and I needed an A key. So yeah, you can see on this board that it has a detachable cable, which I do not have attached at the time. I got this keyboard for free from a friend because the cable had broken, and so he had thought that the entire keyboard was broken and gave it to me as scrap in case I wanted to mess around with the keycaps. It turns out that the keyboard was not broken, and all I needed to do was plug in another mini USB cable. Nice trapezoidal connector there like we're all used to. He just didn't own any others since he had never had a PS3 apparently, and didn't want to use it because he thought it was broken. So that was fine. He moved away and let me keep it. In any case, let's talk about the keyboard itself. We've got a non-standard bottom row, which is a big deal if you wanted to replace the keycaps. Now, most people who care about keyboards and would tell you about keycap replacement would tell you that this keyboard isn't good enough to justify buying aftermarket keycaps, but given that that's all opinion, I'm going to present you with the issue here. You'll see that on this keyboard, the Windows key is 1 unit. I know you can't see it super well because of the lighting, but if I kind of turn it to the side, yeah, you can sort of see that the Control and Alt keys are longer than the Windows key. We move over to this side, you can see that the function and menu keys are shorter than Control and Alt. Let's look at a standard layout keyboard, of which both of these are, and you can see that those 3 keys are the same length, those 4 keys are the same length. So Razer decided to make those smaller, and I guess I can see why, because you would use Control and Alt in games more than you would use function, of course, or menu, or definitely Windows. As this is a gaming board, they have a dedicated Windows lock, which is activated in gamer mode. You can see the little G there by pressing function F10, and that would light up that area green. You can see the LED. Oh, can you? Yeah, there you go. You can see the LED right there. Obviously, it's not plugged in, so it won't light up. But yeah, so the biggest issues that this keyboard has, in my opinion, in terms of its design, are probably the fact that, despite the fact that it's called Tournament Edition, implying that you're going to take it to LANs, it is quite heavy for its size, and undeserving of that heaviness with its build quality, all plastic. And it has a non-standard layout, so if you wanted to make your keyboard look flashy and add some aftermarket keycaps, you couldn't. That's all I have to really say about this board that doesn't involve the actual switches themselves. So let's move on. The ViewSonic KU520 cost me $30, and I could not find it sold in any first-hand markets. I bought it on eBay. So I don't know how much it would normally have cost, out of a store, but it's made by ViewSonic, and you might be familiar with ViewSonic because they used to make a lot of monitors. They also make various other electronics, or rather they have them made and put their branding on them. They make monitors and TVs most often. I believe they're based in Korea, South Korea, as far as I know. This keyboard features a standard layout, as I said. The only modification from the default keycaps that I've made is this black spacebar. Over there in the box, I have the original white spacebar, but I just felt like replacing it with a black one. They are functionally the same, and the reason that I could do that is because of the standard bottom row. Everything is a, what is that, 1.7 or 1.25 unit key? Yeah, all of those are 1.25 units, and this should be like 6. I'm not super familiar with the measurements, but it's standard, and that's wonderful. This keyboard is, just like the other two here, 10 keyless, so no number pad. Would be right there, isn't one. The only flaw that this keyboard really has in its design is that it's quite cheap feeling. It's much lighter than either of the other two boards, but it deserves it. Being a $30 keyboard, it doesn't really have a lot to its construction. You can see that it has a very thin metal top plate here in which the switches are mounted, since they are floating keys, so to speak. But the back is all cheap white plastic. One nice thing that they do that other keyboard manufacturers that cost a lot more money don't do is they put rubber gripping on the feet. Now, it is a little bit pointy. You can see that it kind of tapers, so you can bend it, which doesn't lend itself very well if you move the keyboard this way, because the feet might fold in. I used to have that happen to me when I used this as a daily keyboard. But all in all, it's quite well made. It features the Zorro blue switches, and we'll talk about those in the next segment when we talk about switches. So let's move on to the last one. This is my current board. You'll see that there's none on my desk because this cable would have had my FC750R from Leopold plugged into it. Also why I have the feet out. Now this keyboard features, from the factory, as I'm using all the stock keycaps as much as I can, front printed keys. Pretty cool stuff. Basically means that you get the experience of touch typing on blank keys if you want to bring the keyboard up or just not look at a weird angle. But if you need some reference, it's right there for you. I really like this design because I can't trust myself with blank keys, especially when trying to remember things like function F7 for pausing the music, which I use a lot for iTunes. But it does help me with learning to touch type faster, which is good, unless I decided to switch to Dvorak, but that's a different topic. So you'll see that this also features the 1.25 unit keys here. Standard layout, great stuff. We've got a caps lock key with a light hole, and when I plug it in just a bit, you'll actually see that in action. There's a blue light that shines through there. There's another blue light on the F5 key. See, these are actual Cherry MX Blues with good keycaps, so I can't just pull them off with my hand. But when you press function F5, it enables Windows key lock. That wouldn't do anything. And it lights up F5 while that's turned on. The only other key with a light on this keyboard is the scroll lock key, which similarly has the old school cutout to show you the light through it. Good stuff. Genuine Cherry switches, unlike the other two boards showcased here. And it feels really nice. It's pretty nice. It's great stuff. The keycaps are very thick PBT. I'd show you, but I don't have a key puller handy that I can use with one hand. But it definitely is just a really great board. It also features, and you can't see this because I'm not about to take this thing apart, but on the inside, somewhere along the bottom here, there is a metal padded plate that they advertise as a sound dampener, and it definitely makes the MX Blues in the Leopold FC750R sound different from any other MX Blues I've ever heard. Now, I've never owned any other genuine Cherry MX Blues, but the click is a lot less pronounced, even when on a padded bed, than on the Zorro Blues that are trying to emulate MX Blues, or the Razer Greens, which are a sad implementation of an MX Blue clone. So now that we've gone over the build of the three boards here, let's plug them in one by one and talk about their usability. First up on the block is the Razer Blackwidow Tournament 2014. So I already went over the physical layout of the board and the fact that I've replaced 5 of the keycaps due to them being missing when I received this board secondhand. But in general, we've got this sort of sound. I should open Notepad or something, just a second. Alright, we've got this sort of sound. When you press the keys, it's fairly satisfying, to be honest, but it's also somewhat inconsistent. You'll see that the stabilized keys compared to the stock keycaps or the WASD keyboard's Triforce cap, they just don't have that same punch to them. Not punch, but click. The click noise is a little bit dampened. That doesn't really sound too much like a clicky switch. But then caps lock is louder than all hell. They're very inconsistent. This is because the Razer green switches were manufactured by Kaiwa, the Chinese company most known for their kale, with an H at the end, switches that are generally known to be pretty low quality for what you're paying for them, even given that they cost less than any other Switch clones just about. They're really not held in very high regard, and Razer boards aren't held in very high regard due to their price versus the performance. But regardless of this, let's get a little bit of sampling on the typing on this board. Alright, here we have the ViewSonic KU520 with Zorro blue switches. And as you can see, when you plug in the keyboard, which is not plugged into my cable here, for it is an attached cable, the lights come on. Now you can turn off the lights by pressing function scroll lock, or you can alternate their mode of lighting by pressing function home, which will make them breathe at a pace different to that of my unstoppably breathing mouse, so I generally leave the lights in solid mode and turn them off. The ViewSonic KU520, as I said, features Zorro blues, so we can actually take a look at these ones. We've got the blue stem there. And pressing these switches without keycaps on is a load of fun. I mean, that sounds like extremely nerdy. But it's a nice time. They just have the right actuation for use without a keycap. With a keycap, however, they kind of pull you in, and that doesn't really make any sense, so I'm going to elaborate. Essentially, pressing keys on this keyboard with regular keycaps on, these are the keycaps that came with it, minus the spacebar, makes you want to press them again. And that sounds like a good thing. It sounds like they're so fun to use that you'd want to press them again. But really, it's just kind of endlessly almost there. They have a very satisfying click noise, followed by an extremely loud ping. Bottoming out at all, at any speed reasonable for typing or gaming, will make a ping noise, and that's most likely because of the very thin metal featured in this keyboard above the plastic housing. Now, it was $30, so I don't expect prime quality, but that ping did get a little annoying when I was using this as my main board. However, the standard layout is a nice touch, even though I never replaced the keycaps myself, and for gaming and playing things, it's generally pretty nice. Obviously, clicky switches are normally touted as typing-centric, but, I mean, you want to be able to do everything with your keyboard if you don't want to spend $1 million. And if you have a $30 board like this, you really don't have a lot of money to spend on it, one would assume. So, when I was using this as my daily typing and gaming board for about 5-6 months in one of my 2 places of residence. I had a good time. I've had good experiences all around. It's really a lot for the money I paid for it, and I'm going to be giving it shortly to my girlfriend, whose keyboard with Zorro black switches actually just broke. So I'm going to give her this one instead, because she needs 10 keyless stuff to use with a lap desk in her, I don't know, weird setup. I don't really care how she uses it. I'm just happy that I get to spread the love. But back to the keyboard. Essentially, it's a good all-around board, and the Zorro Blues are great for what you pay for. They're a lot better than the offerings from Kaiwa in the Razer switches, or in the Razer keyboard for Razer's own switches. I would say that if you need something budget and you can find one of these, it's a great buy. Let's get a sample of the typing. Next up is the extremely hard to plug in, but very high quality, Leopold Fc 750R. This features mine features the MX Blues from Cherry themselves, genuine actual MX Blues, and they're quite nice. I had never used MX Blues before except on one switch tester. Funny enough, that was at a job interview for the job that I currently have. The guy had a switch tester on his desk, what do you know? But these are great. A lot of fun. Now you'll notice that the click is not really as satisfying as on the ViewSonic with the Zorro switches. At least that's my opinion. I don't know how well it picks up on my phone's microphone, but it's a little bit not all there. It doesn't have the fullness, the rounded out sound. It doesn't have the ping. I can bang that as hard as I want to. Even on a stabilized key like the spacebar, no ping, which is awesome. I'm really, really glad to have that gone, because it was very annoying. However, the sound dampening plate in this keyboard that I think I touched on earlier is really not great. It takes away a lot of the satisfaction from having a clicky keyboard, especially in one's own home. If I was at work or school with this thing, maybe I would want the lower sound while still getting that tactile feel. But even then, Cherry MX Blues don't have the greatest tactile feel. I would go for clears or maybe some Alps or a knockoff switch like Gatoron's if I wanted just tactility. So the sound appeal of MX Blues is kind of taken away by Leopold. However, the build quality of this keyboard and the consistency of the switches is unparalleled by anything else I've ever used. You'll notice it's also standard layout. You'd expect that from something that costs $115, at least from mechanicalkeyboards.com where I bought it. But it's there and present, and on my other Leopold Fc 750R, I have 2. On my other one, I have an entirely different set of keycaps that are the NKP or NPKC Rainbow Gradient set, printed with pad-printed legends, so they don't feel great, but they look nice. And a jelly key for the escape key. If only I had that one here, right? Whatever, it's fine. These are the stock caps, and they look nice. The front printing is very easy to read. Things are good. I can show you the lights now. There's caps lock, there's Windows key lock, oh, and there is scroll lock. They look all nice, and they bleed through the cap quite a bit when they're on, because they're very bright. But in general, the little slit there is nice to see. It's a welcome addition. The keyboard also comes with a stepped caps key, so the edge here is lower down. Some people like that. I don't really give a shit, so I left it out. But yeah, that's the board itself. Let's get a listen. So to wrap up our Clicky keyboard escapades for today, I just want to say that regardless of your opinions on Clicky switches or the different types of Clicky switches we featured here, as we featured ones from different manufacturers, I believe that the Leopold Fc 750R is the best of this bunch. You may have a Razer board, and I will not shit on you for having one. Whether you paid for it or not, it's a perfectly sufficient keyboard, and it's all better than a membrane, right? So, yeah, the ViewSonic is great for the money, the Leopold is a little bit higher end if you don't want to go custom, and the Razer is a Razer. Take that as you will. Generally, I'm going to keep this guy on my desk, but I don't see any reason why you wouldn't want to go with either one of these if you have one, and none of them are bad choices, because they're all mechanical, and, you know, everyone likes mechanical keyboards, right? Right? See you next time.